regular meeting of the San Francisco Ethics Commission. This meeting is being held by teleconference pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N 2920 and 12th Supplement to Mayoral Proclamation declaring the existence of a local emergency dated February 25th, 2020. Before we proceed further, I'd like to ask Commission staff member Ronald Contreras, who is acting as our moderator, to explain some procedures for today's remote meeting. Ronald?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The minutes of this meeting will reflect that due to the COVID-19 health emergency and to protect Commission members, city employees, and the public, the meeting rooms of City Hall are closed. However, Commission members and staff will be participating in today's meeting remotely. This precaution is taken pursuant to the various local, state, and federal orders, declarations, and directives. Commission members will attend the meeting through video conference and participate in the meeting to the same extent as if they were physically present. Please note that today's meeting is being live cablecast on SF.gov TV and streamed live online at sfgovtv.org/ethicslive. Once again, sfgovtv.org/ethicslive. Public comment will be available on each item of this agenda. Each member of the public will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Comments or opportunities to speak during the public comment period are available via phone call by calling 1-415-655-0001. Again, the phone number is 1-415-655-0001. Access code is 146-881-6748. Again, 146-881-6748, followed by the pound sign, and then press pound again to join as an attendee. You will hear a beep when you are connected to the meeting. You will be automatically muted and in listening mode only. When your item of interest comes up, dial *3 to raise your hand and to be added to the public comment line. You will then hear you have raised your hand to ask a question. Please wait until the host calls on you. The line will be silent and you will wait your turn to speak. Ensure you are in a quiet location. Before you speak, mute the sound of any equipment around you, including television, radio, or computer. It is especially important that you mute your computer if you are watching via the web link to prevent feedback and echo when you speak. When the system message says your line has been unmuted, this is your turn to speak. You will hear staff say, "Welcome, caller." We also encourage you to state your name clearly. As soon as you begin speaking, you will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you change your mind and withdraw yourself from the public comment line, press *3 again. You will hear the system say, "You have lowered your hand." Once the 3 minutes have expired, staff will thank you and mute you. You will hear, "Your line has been muted." Attendees who wish to speak during other public comment periods may stay on the line and listen for the next public comment opportunity and should raise their hands to enter the public comment line by pressing *3 when their next item of interest comes up. Public comment may also be submitted in writing and will be shared with the Commission after this meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comment should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Once again, written comments should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Moderator, would you please proceed with item number 1, the Commission roll call?
Commissioners, please unmute your microphone so that you can verbally state your presence at today's meeting after your name is called. Chair Ambrose?
Present.
Commissioner Bush?
Present.
Commissioner Chu?
Present.
Vice Chair Lee?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Commissioner Smith has been excused from this meeting, and in fact, Commissioner Smith has decided to resign from the Commission. She has advised the District Attorney, Chesa Boudin, that she will resign effective February 1st. So we want to thank her for her service and appreciate her membership on the Commission. I'm just sorry that most of the tenure of her being on the Commission has been remote, and so we really haven't had a chance to get to know her, personally in the minutes before or after the meeting, but we wish her the very best. And we look forward to hearing from the district attorney to find out who he will appoint as her replacement. And with that, I'd like to.
So with that, I'm sorry,
Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, with 4 members present and accounted for, you have a quorum.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay. So the meeting is official, and I do want to welcome everyone to the first meeting of 2021. We are going to have, I think, a busy year. This year, we're going to have a lot of challenges with the city's financial situation being what it is, and we're going to have to also work really hard to restore the public's faith in city government, given the roiling corruption scandals that keep coming to light. And but I know we're all up to it, and I look forward to working with you to accomplish the commission's business. And with that, I want to call agenda item number 2. That would be public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda. Members of the public who are already online and wish to speak should now dial *3 if you've not already done so. To be added to the public comment line, moderator, please proceed with public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Ethics Commission is now receiving public comment on agenda item number 2 remotely in this meeting. Each member of the public will have up to 3 minutes to provide public comment. If you joined the meeting early to listen to the proceedings, now is the time to get in line to speak. If you have not already, please press *3. It is important that you press *3 only once to enter the queue. I'm sorry, folks. If you have not already, please press *3. It is important that you press *3 only once to enter the queue, as pressing it again will move you out of the public comment line and back into listening mode. Once you are in the queue and standing by, the system will prompt you when it's your turn to speak. So it's important that you call from a quiet location. Please address your comment to the commission as a whole and not to individual members. Madam Chair, we are checking to see if there are any callers in the queue. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently on agenda item number 2, public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda. You will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. Please stand by. Madam Chair, there are no callers in the queue. You are muted, Chair Ambrose.
Thank you. Closing public comment on agenda item 2, and I'd like to call agenda item number 3, draft minutes for December 14th, 2020 Ethics Commission regular meeting. If any member of the public intend to offer public comment for the consent item, they should dial in now and enter *3 to be added to the public comment queue. Item 3 is on consent. This item is considered routine. If a commissioner objects, any item can be removed and considered separately. Does any commission member wish to sever any of the items? Commissioner Lee, did you want to sever the minutes for discussion?
Yes, because I want to make a request to change.
Okay. All right. So moved. Do we have a second for the motion to sever? I don't think we need a second. Actually, any commissioner can do it, but.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I don't think we need to vote on that. So given that there's only one item on the consent calendar, we will move to discussion of that item, the draft minutes for the December 14th, 2020 meeting. Commissioner Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a request to change item number 6.
Okay.
Said I want to replace non-English speaker to be bilingual speaker, because that's what I thought I said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. If there's no objection to that, Commissioner Bush, please.
I have no objection to that, but I have another point on the minutes I'd like to raise. Is this the right time to do that?
Please.
Two
Yes,
questions. Thank you. 2 questions. If material is submitted to the commission for consideration by the members of the public, either in writing or in other ways, is that noted? Because I don't see it in the minutes, and I'm not sure whether or not anything was ever submitted. I rarely see anything submitted, though I know that people have submitted things in writing in advance of the commission meetings.
Commissioner Bush, if I might respond through the chair. When we have documents that we've received from the public, they are in advance of the commission meeting and related to a commission agenda item, whether it's general comment or others. We do put it on the with the agenda item in the packets that are distributed and posted for commissioners. If there is something that comes in after the fact, I will have to go back and see. We usually do try and put a link to them if they are to reflect them in the minutes. I think last month we did not have any public comment and did not receive documents, but I can confirm that with you at the next meeting or prior. If you are not comfortable approving these minutes, pending that information, we can always carry these minutes over to the next meeting for action. But last month, I believe we didn't have documents or public comment received.
That's fine. I'm really looking for a policy position rather than raising an issue of anything. As far as I know, nothing is. But in the past, there have been times when there was material that was submitted in advance, but then was not in the minutes. And I wanted to know what the policy has been. Is the policy, you say it's submitted in the packet to the commissioners, is that a packet that the public also sees?
Yes, that would be the meetings, the items that are distributed in advance of the meeting. And I'm searching here. I apologize. Pat Ford is out this week, and I might have otherwise turned to him directly. But we have language on our website regarding the submission of materials for commission meetings. So if I or perhaps I can ask one of the staff members to track that down, we can point that out as well.
Yeah, it's certainly been my experience in my tenure here that we not only receive the comments or the letter that was submitted, the actual letter, not a summary of it, in our packet, but when you go to the website, at least, my understanding is that any communications concerning the agenda items are included there, by a link. So I'm assuming that means then in December, we had not received any communications concerning the agenda item. And, let's face it, I don't know what's happened out there. I know people have many challenges in this pandemic world that we live in, but we are not seeing much engagement, if any at all, with the commission. And that's a separate matter of concern, which isn't on the agenda right now. But in any event, I don't think it's necessary to put the meeting minutes over. I would like to get a motion to adopt them if they're, go ahead, Executive Director Pelham.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ambrose. On our commission meeting page on our website, there is a section identified as public comment below the references to the where the meetings can be accessed. And we do have the policy we've been using in practice identified there. It speaks to providing public comment in person, but it also speaks to written public comment regarding matters that appear on the agenda. And so we have identified and described here that public comment that's received by the commission at by 9 a.m. of the Monday before a commission meeting, which would typically be the posting day for all the commission meeting materials, will be included in the packet of agenda materials distributed publicly for that meeting. And it goes on to describe what the packet of agenda materials includes. Public comment that's received after that production cutoff deadline will not appear in the agenda packet for that meeting. However, those comments will be provided to the members of the commission and made available to the public at the commission meeting. I think what this points out is a need for us to take and revise this language and this policy and practice in light of being in fully remote meetings, because this assumed that we might have had them available at a public table sitting in the back of the public meeting room. So I think if we can take this feedback, look back at what this process is, and adjust this so that people know clearly where they can access those materials that may not have come in time to be included in the commission's meeting packet.
Thank you. I do know that in the past, before I was on the commission, that I had submitted material in writing, and that it was on the table, but otherwise, if you were not in the room and able to pick something off the table, you never saw it. And I'm not sure that other commissioners even saw it at that time. So I was not the only one in that situation.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'd assumed that it was all scanned and available electronically if you weren't in the room. So yes, if you can work on that, Director Pelham, and clarify where people can find information should we receive it.
But I'm happy to move the minutes for approval.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I think Commissioner Lee. Okay. And moderator, can you call the roll then, please?
Yes. Commissioners, a motion has been made. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. A motion has been made and seconded. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Bush.
Yes.
Oh, wait. You know what? I just realized now that we had a discussion, we need public comment. Thanks, Commissioner Chu. We need call for public comment on the consent items. If you would please read the instructions for public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Ethics Commission is now receiving public comment on consent calendar item number 3 remotely in this meeting. Each member of the public will have up to 3 minutes to provide public comment. You will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you have joined the meeting early to listen to the proceedings, now is the time to get into the line to speak. If you have not already, please press *3. It is important that you press *3 only once to enter the queue, as pressing it again will move you out of the public comment line and back into listening mode. Once you are in the queue and standing by, the system will prompt you when it's your turn to speak. So it's important that you call from a quiet location. Please address your comment to the commission as a whole and not to individual members. Madam Chair, we are checking to see if there are any callers in the queue.
Thank you.
If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently taking public comment on consent calendar item number 3, draft minutes for December 14th, 2020 Ethics Commission regular meeting. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the public comment queue. Please stand by. Madam Chair, we have no callers in the queue.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. And if you could please call the roll. We have a motion from Commissioner Bush and a second from Commissioner Lee to adopt the minutes of the December 14th, 2020 meeting. Thank you.
A motion has been made and seconded. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Bush. You'll need to unmute yourself, Commissioner Bush.
Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Chu.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lee.
Aye.
Chair Ambrose.
Aye.
Okay. Folks, I'm also going to remind everyone here that when you are not muted, every movement that you make is being heard. So just
Okay.
be aware of that. Okay, I'm sorry. With 1, 2, 3, 4 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes opposed, the motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to now call agenda item number 4. Discussion and possible action on informational items scheduled for presentation at January 5th and 7th interested person meetings on proposed revision to the fixed penalty policy and new streamlined administrative resolution program process. Now, of course, those meetings have been rescheduled, but I'm assuming that Executive Director Pelham, that you're going to proceed with the presentation on the underlying subject matter.
Yes, and thank you, Chair Ambrose. To be clear, the item here is, I'm happy to turn it over to Jeff Pierce. We wanted to make sure that the commission had the opportunity to have access and have the information about what we have submitted with our interested persons notice to the public, so that you can see the full range of discussion items and plan that we will be enlisting public support and public comment on. So this is really essentially an informational item to so that you all have the same information that the public has as we move forward towards the interested persons meetings. As this item notes, I believe we because of the year-end scheduling and holidays, we wanted to move it further out so that we could have participation in these meetings. We had not yet had RSVP scheduled for the meetings that were planned for for being held this week. So we wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to get that input. But we do have this information here. We agendized it as a matter for discussion and possible action if that's of interest to the commission, but that certainly is not required at this point, since we have not yet brought back to you any public feedback that we've received on the proposals as we've currently structured them.
Okay, if you want to proceed then with, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lee, you had a question? No? Never mind then, Commissioner or Director Pelham, if you want to proceed with the presentation.
I'm happy to turn it over to Jeff Pierce for any overview, high level that might be useful to you, and any questions that you might have at this point from him.
All right, yeah, if you, Jeff, if you wanted to just provide an overview, and also if you know the tentative dates for the rescheduled meetings, we can announce those. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Ambrose and Director Pelham, and good morning, commissioners. Yeah, as Director Pelham noted, we had hoped to have a couple of interested persons meeting this week, and we had intended to bring feedback to you on the basis of those interactions with stakeholders. As the director mentioned, we didn't get RSVPs in time for those meetings, so we've rescheduled them for the last week in January. We kept the same Tuesday, Thursday structure for those meetings, but they are scheduled now for Tuesday, January 26th and Thursday, January 28th. We have gotten some RSVPs now for those rescheduled meetings, so we will intend to proceed with them, and then bring before the commission a substantive proposal that incorporates any feedback that we might receive at those meetings as appropriate. Apart from that, I had not intended to present the substance of our proposal at this time. I do have Investigator Eric Willett. We have Investigator Eric Willett with us at the meeting today. Eric has been overseeing the creation of this program primarily. And so we wanted to ensure that we put it on the agenda so that you would have a preview of what staff's proposal looks like, but also to make sure that the public knows that this proposal is in process, and to ensure that the public are aware of the meeting scheduled for later this month. We would welcome public comment on these proposals now, but that wouldn't be necessary. And we would also welcome commissioner feedback on these proposals now, but similarly, in light of the fact that we have interested persons meetings scheduled, and that we intend to come back to you with potentially a revised draft. If you wish to weigh in now, you can, but it's not necessary.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Do I have comments from Commissioner? I see Commissioner Bush, your hand is up. Is that all right? I think you're just frozen though momentarily. There we go.
Sure.
Did you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
All right. And what I would like to do then is go to the moderator to determine if there's any members of the public. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lee. I didn't see your hand.
No, I'm sorry, I
Please.
could not find the hand raising icon.
Right. No, it's fine. I'll look at you live actually.
Yeah, I just have a question for Mr. Pierce. I understand you mentioned the meetings have to be rescheduled because of a lack of RSVP initially. I just want to renew my suggestion of broadening the outreach so that I understand these are really challenging times, but through Zoom, through other means of virtual meetings, maybe we can really broaden up the potential interested meeting universe that we currently have. Again, if we can make it an invitation to the press also, especially the community-based community media, so that at least they can start following what we do. That would be really helpful. I don't know if they would all come, but at least we need to take the initial step.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee.
I'm going to unmute myself and then I'm going to say I would like to ask the moderator to read the instructions for public comment and let us know if there's any members of the public that would like to comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently on the public discussion on the motion of agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action on informational items scheduled for presentation on January 5th and 7th, interested persons meeting on proposed revision to fixed penalty policy and new streamlined administrative resolution program process. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the public comment queue. You will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You'll hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please stand by. We have no callers in the queue, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Public comment on agenda item number 4 is closed. So now agenda item number 5. Discussion of Executive Director's Report, an update of various programmatic and operational highlights of Ethics Commission staff activities since the Commission's previous meeting. Director Pelham, you have the floor.
Great, thank you, Chair Ambrose. The report contains an attachment and some other information that I think reflects what's been a very busy year end in our office. Our commission meeting, as you know, was mid-December on the 14th. And there are a number of developments that my report this month includes. As we all look to 2021, and I think to Commissioner Lee's point, emphasizing the need for us to reach out and be creative in engaging the community of individuals and organizations that care about our work, we all are going to have to be much more creative and nimble and flexible and patient in learning how to use and in using approaches that we haven't tried before. It is the case clearly, I think, as this week has shown us, that there are a number of ongoing challenging issues for those who follow and care about government, to say the least, and that is something that, in getting the eyes of potential applicants or people to engage on complex policy issues like a fixed fine penalty, that can sometimes be an additional taxing exercise. But it's our job to try and make that information accessible in a way that people can reach it, understand it, and engage in it effectively. So I think even though the continuing climate that we're operating in local government and government at all is challenging, that the staff, and I know your commitment, continues to be figuring out how to do our work in the most impactful way possible. So I think I'm hoping that the information that's in this report gives you some hope that we're moving in the right direction as we continue on into 2021. I want to start just briefly by giving you a hiring plan update. We have some very good news. As I reported last month, we were moving forward with recruitments for the positions that we had to fill this year, that the mayor's office gave the green light to continue to work to fill. We have now made 2 hiring decisions, and those both speak to our technology staff who are going to be continuing to help us expand and maintain our e-filing and data systems, our departmental operations, our application programming interfaces, dashboards, and supporting the broad range of work that we do. So I'm very happy to formally announce that Tyler Field, who has been our senior information systems analyst, he's now assuming duties as our information systems engineer, so that he will be focused on a lot of the, I don't want to say back end, it's all around work to help us really strengthen and sustain our technology work. But he's moving into a more defined work as an IS engineer. And Jared Flores, who has been serving as the information systems business analyst, will now be the new senior information systems business analyst. So Jared and Tyler have both been doing outstanding work, and we're excited that they're moving into these new roles. With that, there is a vacancy that is now created in the role that Jared had most previously been filling, and that position has already been posted. It is now accepting applications, and the deadline for that role is January the 15th. With regard to the other positions we have in recruitment, the client support services position and engagement and compliance, we have that position has been posted since mid-December, and the application period closes today. We expect to be moving ahead with completing reviews of candidate applications and then inviting the candidates in for interviews in the next few weeks. So we're happy that progress is being made under the guidance of Rachel Gage as our hiring manager, working closely with the executive leadership team and DHR colleagues. Separately, the other 3 positions, the policy analyst position, the investigator position, the audit and compliance review manager position, each of these, we realized that due to the focus that many had at the year end on other issues, holiday calendar year end, and also our ability to juggle recruitments in tandem, we extended the deadline for these 3 positions to January the 15th. They originally were planned to close today. So similarly with the other positions, we anticipate that once those deadlines have come for the applications, we will be, in a position the following week or 2 to begin scheduling interviews with candidates for those positions as well. Assuming we stay on track with that, we are expecting and hoping to have the seats filled by March 1st. So we're continuing to move ahead with all priority on that work. Separately, I provided an update, as you requested last month, regarding the Commission's Racial Equity Action Plan. As we discussed last month, all departments were working on their draft plans, refining them for submission by December 31st to the City's Office of Racial Equity, and we submitted our plan on December the 29th. I've linked in my report to the plan, and when you have a chance to take a look through it, you'll note that there are some revisions that are significant in the sense that it is a much longer document than what you saw at the meeting last month. Following conversations with the Office of Racial Equity, it became clear to me something that was not clear prior to the presentation I made last month, which is that they like the whole template of the racial equity plan framework to be responded to by departments rather than explaining what those action steps were that were ongoing. So this report that was submitted, you'll see, simply reflects the entirety of the template that the city's racial equity action plan framework envisions, and we supplemented with additional information, areas where we were undertaking action items in each category, and noted where ones were not yet determined, and that would be continued to be assessed as we continue to evolve our work in this area. Again, as discussed by the Commission last month, we fully anticipate that this plan is going to be a living document for our office, and that as a Commission and staff, that it's going to continue to expand and evolve over the coming years as we continue to reflect the full breadth of the commitments that we have, the experiences we have together, our aspirations and our practices. So I just wanted to flag for you that that will be something that looks a bit different than last month, but I think it's good that it reflects in a very full way the commitment and work that the Commission has identified to date. I'll continue on if I might, and then come back for any maybe questions that the Commission might have if that's amenable to you all. The other item that I wanted to reflect on was the status report on the implementation of the budget and legislative analysts, the budget and legislative analysts audit recommendations from their August report. There is an attachment that is linked through my report to a PowerPoint slide, a two-page document that shows the status of action that we've taken on recommendations to date. So you'll recall that the August BLA report issued 16 recommendations to help strengthen and improve our operations in several areas. As detailed in our report to the BLA, in that report, our department fully embraced and was eager to implement the recommendations that they cited with the insights that report provided to us. So as shown in the attachment 1, there are the 16 recommendations from the BLA audit report are listed as they appeared in the report, and as we shared with you in our presentation back in August at the Commission meeting at that time. Here we've added 2 specific columns, one to indicate in shorthand the status, both the deadline, or the recommended deadline that the BLA audit included, and a status based on where our work is to date on those recommendations. We also then added a section on notes to provide some detail about what that means when we say something is underway or planned. And so in summary, of the 16 recommendations that are contained, of the 3 items that the audit recommended be completed by December 31st, 2020, 2 were fully completed, both our training plan and the case closure plan, which are linked from this status sheet. And I would say with regard to the recommendation 4 and hiring, the top recommendation to ensure adequate staffing, it's actually probably should say partially complete rather than underway. That recommendation was that we secure the expedited filling of vacant positions and the allocation of salary savings to move ahead with filling our positions. Those were completed, but because obviously the ensuring the adequate staffing part is dependent on our completing the hiring plan for this year, that process continues underway, and so we've marked the item as such. There are 5 other items that are initiated and underway, and 8 are planned for completion by the recommended deadlines that are shown. For example, under recommendations recommendations 5, 7, and 8 regarding the audit plan, those are dependent on our filling the position of audit and compliance review manager. So with that, I wanted to just point out the status of those recommendations, the work that's underway, and we'll of course be happy to come back and answer any specific questions that you might have about that work now or after I just touch on the status of the budget process. Okay, so lastly in the report, we included a discussion, a snapshot of where we are with the budget process for FY22. Since the last commission meeting, the mayor's office distributed its budget instructions for all departments for the coming year. It references the city's 2-year budget shortfall of about $650 million, and identifies the mayoral priorities that are specific to what the mayor wants to see contained in departmental priorities. And it provides a directive to all departments, instructions regarding their operating budgets and how they're to meet the instructions that are contained in this December 16th information from the mayor's office. For our office and for all departments, they cite the instructions note that there needs to be a mandatory reduction proposal of 7.5% and an additional 2.5% contingency. So in translation, that's departments need to, in fact, submit budgets into the city's financial system that reflect essentially a 10% cut from their current general fund support levels. Departments are instructed to prioritize core services, identify where there will be clear trade-offs. Reduction proposals can include in these instructions the reduction in personnel costs, including the reduction in filled positions. This was not the case of last year when the city has been considering how to manage under the current climate, but this is something specifically referenced in these instructions. Also, new revenue sources. There's the question about an emphasis on racial equity in departmental proposals, looking at budget proposals through an equity lens, and prioritizing that work within existing budgeted levels. These proposed cuts, as we understand them at this point, would also be on top or in addition to what is called these attrition savings targets that require departments to plan for their salary savings that they expect to see from attrition of positions, of anticipated position vacancies. So in sum, for our office, based on the instructions that have been provided, for us, what we believe this could translate to at this point, the 10% reductions total combined with attrition savings could require the elimination of approximately 6 to 7 commission positions, which would represent roughly a quarter of the commission staff. Excuse me one moment. Words difficult to say for sure. So needless to say, this is a fairly significant impact, to say the least. As we have discussed in the past, when we submit our budgets to the mayor's office, the system requires that the numbers departments submit reflect the cuts that are being instructed. And so we will do that, as we have in the past, and we will have to make clear choices about how we achieve those cuts. And we will be as transparent as we can about that process as we go along. It is also the case that, as we have in the past, we will continue to use the budget process to identify what resources and work this commission needs to do to fulfill the mandate that the voters established us to do. And so the commission, I know you as a body have expressed a strong desire to make sure that we are clear about the kinds of expectations that you have for the work that we're able to accomplish and how we go about accomplishing that. And we will do our best to reflect that in the documents that we submit to the mayor's office that supplement the submission of the data into the financial system. But we will not be shy in asking for those items that are necessary for this commission to do the work that people expect us to do. In that vein, we identified in this, also in the ED report this month, that part of our obligation and responsibility is to engage the public in the budget development process. An ordinance was approved last year by the Board of Supervisors that was implemented in haste at this time last year, as it was a new ordinance. But this year, it's clear there are requirements that now apply to departments for public input, unlike ways that the city has sought that public input in the past. So we had initially thought that we would be able to meet the requirements of the ordinance by establishing interested persons meetings, that if we held them this month, because of the timing constraints that the ordinance provides, departments need to have 2 meetings in essence, one meeting to engage the public or provide an opportunity to receive public input on the department's budget priorities, and then subsequently a public meeting on the proposed budget. So we thought that that might be accomplished through 2 interested persons meetings and the commission's meeting in February, on February 12th, prior to the submission on February 23rd of the departmental budgets. That's the deadline they're due. In further consultation after this report went out with the city attorney's office, I stand corrected that the way the ordinance is written, it actually contemplates that the commission as a body will meet to hear the departmental budget priorities. And so I would, in consultation with the city attorney's office, what we have identified now is rather than holding the interested persons meetings as we identified, all commissioners would be part of a special meeting on the departmental budget priorities. And at this point, we will be scheduling that for January 21st. So we plan to notice that next week. We plan to provide, as we do with all of our commission meetings and even interested persons meetings, obviously we'll put together some information to frame up what the questions are, what the issues are that we would provide, tee up the issues for the public. And it will be a single item agenda to hear the commission's to take public input on departmental budget priorities. So that's something that's still a work in progress. I don't have a document for you at this point, but that is what our plan is at this point. I would very much welcome further feedback or direction from you all about how you would like to see that that meeting or the time frame play out, given the constraints that we have to operate under as the ordinance sets forth the time frames for public engagement. Lastly, the revenues information is there as usual, but I did want to make one note that is not in the report, but this speaks to sort of, how we look forward, the support that we have from City Attorney's Office, and just, times changing. I did want to thank and acknowledge Jenica Maldonado. Jenica has notified her office and others that she is leaving city employment on January 15th. And Jenica has been providing advice and counsel to our office, I think, over the last couple of years. Time has flown and how fun it has been. But she is joining the— Is it just
me or, okay.
Joining the firm of Renee Public Law Group as of counsel to help develop its government practice group. So I know for all of us who've worked with Jenica, I want to convey our thanks and gratitude for the insights and experience and expertise that she's brought to our work. And, it's always awful to have to say goodbye to really wonderful people that we work with, but we know that she'll be doing great work as she continues to undoubtedly make a positive impact on local government through her new role. So that was new information I wanted to share with you and acknowledge her work and thank her for that. With that, I will pause, and I know there's a lot of information in this report, and happy to handle any questions you might have.
All right. Yes, I do want to add my thanks to Jenica, and we wish you well. I'm sorry to lose you from the city family, and but glad you're staying with government work. So that was a lot to unpack there, Executive Director Pelham, and I do see a few hands, so I'm going to start alphabetically with Commissioner Chu. If you wanted to comment, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Ambrose. And Jenica, thank you very much for all the work and contributions you've made to the Commission. It's been wonderful to work with you, and we will miss you, but best of luck, and really glad that you're staying in government work, and know that you will undoubtedly be as successful and impactful at the law firm as you have been here in the city. So thank you for that. About the budget, so I understand that we have a pandemic and that there's a significant budget shortfall, and that everyone is going to have to tighten their belts. But for a small department like ours, that it's a disproportionate impact to ask for up to 10% decrease. And so I think it's interesting, just on the heels of the discussion of the racial equity plan, that there's not the concept of equity also applied in this budget context, because when you have departments of hundreds of thousands of employees with revenue sources, we have no revenue sources. A 10% cut, while significant, will not be as impactful to the operations and the ability of the department to fulfill its mission and mandate, and in our case, the mission and mandate as set forth in the charter and, excuse me, required by the city and residents of San Francisco. So I guess I would like to, be on the record as saying that, as we go into these budget discussions, to of course fulfill the procedural requirements to submit a budget, but would urge staff to engage with the mayor's budget office to make sure that they understand the impact of these requested budget cuts on the commission's ability to do our job, in particular in light of a continuing public corruption scandal that has not ended and has undermined faith and trust in the transparency and the accountability and the of government, and that we have a significant role to play in fostering and creating a culture of compliance, and and for us to have to reduce by 6 or 7 by a quarter of our staff, to me says that the city is not serious about rooting out corruption. I think that the message says that the one agency whose task it is to create and foster compliance and ethical culture in the city is being hamstrung. Says that it's not important, despite the fact that we've got criminal indictments and guilty pleas from multiple people in a scandal that has yet to come to an end. And so I have 2 requests, and one is for our special meeting, if in complying with the requirements of the budget instructions, and we would need to propose these position cuts, what programs would be impacted at the commission? What would we not be able to do? Very, very granularly, so that both we as commissioners understand, but also that the mayor's office and the broader public will understand that we are not currently staffed to where we need to be based on the BLA report, and we the 4 positions that we needed, and that we are on the cusp of hopefully filling them by March 1st, only to have to turn around then and eliminate some. To me is just the height of ludicrousness. So what would that mean? Like, what would the impact be? Would we not be able to, like, what could we not do if we didn't have this quarter of our staff? And then second is, I would ask the commissioners is, what can we do as a commission body to put this issue front and center, in the dialogue, with city residents and with the City Hall and the mayor's budget office. Does that take the form of an editorial, just highlighting that, we have this ongoing corruption scandal, and one of the, the Ethics Commission is not the only agency, but the agency that is specifically tasked with ethical culture in the city is being asked to, reduce, as have all other departments, to reduce staff by 20% and a budget reduction of 10%. What does this say about the priority and the importance that the city places on ethics and compliance, in making that ask? So I'll stop there and wait for my fellow commissioners and also the public to weigh in on this. But I feel that if we quietly just go about our business and hope, and obviously work behind the scenes to make sure that these budget cuts can be softened or minimized, to reduce the harm. I think that we need to do that, but I also feel that it's incumbent upon us to explore other avenues to be able to create dialogue with the city in this really critical year. Thank you.
I am unmuted, I think. Can you hear me? Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Chu, and I agree. I think that this upcoming meetings, the one on the 21st and on the 12th, it is going to be really important to highlight those equity issues as you've framed them. I do want to confirm, though, I mean, these budget instructions are the generic budget instructions that are going out to all departments in the city. So in terms of tone, this is our opportunity to highlight the importance of our mission, although I see it doesn't really fit within the mayor's priorities because she didn't include, raising the, sort of ethical profile of the city as one of her top priorities. I guess she just takes that as a given. But I think that it's up to us to frame the work we're doing as critical to the city's legitimacy and ability to carry out any of its other mission. And I think we'll have an opportunity to do that before we lose hope. So I'm going to turn to Commissioner Bush, which I realize now, even though you're not on my list, that you're next. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay. I concur with Commissioner Chu's comments. I would, from my standpoint as a person who wrote in the press and did other government stuff, I would drill it down to very specific information. For example, we have the board budget analysts reporting that it takes 2 to 3 years to conduct an investigation at ethics compared to 6 months at the FPPC and in other jurisdictions with ethics commissions. I talked to our enforcement office, and I was told that in order to get to the 6-month benchmark of other departments, we would need 6 investigators instead of the 4 that we currently are slated to have. That doesn't even count a cutback as a result of the budget stuff. So I would suggest that we spell out that unless we have additional resources for investigators, that we're unlikely to see the results of any investigations until the year 2026. And that people need to know that we're talking about years away to see any kind of results. And they need to see that in very clear terms. And I think that we need to point out that in this coming year, we have at least 5 senior department officials who are going to likely be on trial. They've already facing criminal charges, and they're going to be on trial for behavior that they conducted themselves as officials in this administration. And among those people will include a senior advisor to the mayor herself. And while she's not charged, the fact is she did receive thousands of dollars in gifts from a city employee and did not report receiving that until it was called to her attention months after the fact. Her excuse, and I understand it's a worthwhile one, is that she had an ongoing relationship. But does that mean that we need to have a list of everyone's ongoing past relationships so we know whether or not they have to make the disclosure? That's a ludicrous idea, but it's the logical conclusion that you have to come to. What about things like reporting the actual expenditures of people's travel? We saw a lot of cases where travel is being underwritten by people who have interest before the city. And that is allowed. But what kind of expenses? Are they staying in hotels that are $1,000 a night? Do we have a policy similar to other cities that puts a cap similar to the federal cap on daily expenses for per diems when you're traveling in certain areas? Do we have any kind of requirement that people have to resubmit a Form 700 if certain changes take place? For example, they move their residence, or they buy new properties, or they change an employer. That has a whole lot to do with conflict of interest. It does happen, and the FPPC allows those things to be updated and urges that they do, but I have never seen anyone update a Form 700. So if you take all those kinds of issues and spell them out in precise details and tie them back to examples of current corruption trials that are underway, which include travel, include buying property, other kinds of gifts, then I think you make a pretty compelling case that's hard to resist on the merits. I'd like to know also whether in the mayor's guidance, one of her priorities is supporting small businesses. And I don't see why we can't make the case that supporting small businesses means having fair competition for contracts and fair access for permitting, because that's what's hurting a lot of small businesses in San Francisco. If they cannot compete fairly for a contract because someone has a special relationship, or if they cannot have access to permitting because of special relationships. For example, PG&E and getting hookups for a kitchen, which can delays opening some businesses for a year or two. It's easy to get that kind of information. I would also say that we need to take a look at other financial resources. I got a copy and I forwarded it on to Chair Ambrose and to Director Pelham from Chesa Boudin, the district attorney, saying he's going to ask people to make contributions to fund a research program into improved law enforcement, contributions to the district attorney's office. Well, if the district attorney's office can do this, why can't ethics put out a request for contributions? We've talked before, but not made any progress on how to provide advisory groups that could address, among other things, funding sources and access to those for our work. In that same vein, can't we work order some of the Form 700 stuff to departments that have their own revenue that's outside of the general fund and not hit by the mayor's direction? By my count, there are close to 3,000 Form 700 filers that are filed with departments that have outside funding sources beyond the general fund. That's a lot. One department alone has almost 1,000. So I think that we could speed that up. I also think that we could take a look at doing them on PDFs. They would not be searchable, but it would mean that we could do it now instead of a year from now. And that would show the public that we are moving forward. So in broader terms, when we have an agenda item like this one, which is to brief the commission, that agenda doesn't allow action to be taken. It's just we're being told about things. And I really would like to have a record that we have put forward an action item and voted and have the commission approve amendments to proposals like this one. In the past, I've seen cases where we brought up issues and then later on, nothing happened and we were told, well, there was never a commission vote. Well, if you don't have an opportunity to vote on an agenda item, then of course there's not going to be a commission vote. Talk about putting yourself in a straitjacket where we can't act. That's not acceptable in my view. So those are the points that I wanted to make.
Unmute here. Before I comment, Commissioner Lee, did you want to comment?
Yes.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo Commissioner Chu's comments. I think that there's a between what the commission's mandated work is, what we stand for, and the public's perception of what good government and government ethics is for this city. And I really want to endorse her recommendation of the commission taking a more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but more proactive role, especially with the budget being so competitive this year, to really articulate with not just the elected leaders who will be deciding the budget, but more importantly, the general public of what we do. What does it mean to have an ethics commission? Tying into what Commissioner Chu have said, you know, with such a cut, it's not just the dollar amount, but it's um, the displacement of the core of what government ethics is should be for the city. So I do want to explore how the commission, while meeting all the sunshine requirements and everything else, how we can collectively, you know, call it a public awareness campaign, not public awareness, but maybe a marketing campaign, just to let people know what we stand for and why this year particularly is so critical to keep the commission's small and but mighty staff going to continue and expand on what we do. So I know that, you know, we cannot do much with more than 3 individuals, but let's look at, you know, the op-eds, our media campaign, our community engagement campaign between now and the budget hearings, because you know, we all know 10% may seem, you know, small in large departments, but for this department, for this commission, you know, that really cuts in deeply to the personnel, which is important to carry out our work. So I would love to see what concrete steps that we can do now, starting today, to really get the discussion going with the public.
I just want to try and make some specific recommendations to follow up on the thoughtful comments you've provided, and that would be that at our meeting on the 21st, which is supposed to be a public engagement over the budget, that we do certainly set it for discussion and possible action. I think it would be important to, you know, one of the concerns that I have is with all of this being embedded in the one agenda item under the executive director's report, you have very specific categories that come up in your executive director's report, but they're not called out very clearly in the agenda. I mean, we can work on this behind the scenes, but if you look at some other commission agendas under the executive director's report, they'll put specific bullet topics so that it's more obvious to the public that that's something that we're going to be discussing. And then you can, I think if you're going to have an action item, though, we should pull it out of the executive director's report, because that in and of itself is a report is inconsistent with the commission actually taking a substantive policy decision. But we will have at the meeting on the 21st, that is a presentation and action on recommendations regarding the budget. And so if we can call out specifically Commissioner Chu and lead the community engagement, you know, we are so actively soliciting community engagement. I also want to talk to you separately. I do think we should do a press release calling out that we're going to have a meeting on the 21st that we're inviting all of the public to, and think about, the news outlets that we can put it in. I mean, I know I see in the community newspapers that I read and the Examiner, a lot of times they'll have a little squib in there, saying there's going to be, you can go to online and join this public meeting. So maybe we can garner a little bit of energy around a fulsome public discussion, because if we do that, then we actually have something to show the mayor and the board that we are engaged, and that the public actually cares about the Ethics Commission having sufficient resources to carry out its mission. I also think that the item that Commissioner Bush shared with me from the district attorney's office soliciting public donations to the city for specific activity is something that we should keep in mind, because why not? I mean, I don't know that we'll see how well he does, but donations to the city are tax exempt, and it's conceivable that if we articulate a specific funding, for a specific activity, especially after we experience these excruciating budget cuts, we may well be able to generate, sufficient support to actually fund a position that we might otherwise lose. So keeping that in mind, and putting that on as, the developing revenue sources. As you pointed out, the mayor's office has a specific category for that in your report, back to them. So let's call that out specifically. And then on I'm trying to look at my notes, sorry, on all the good points that you raised. I mean, you can actually answer this question at the next meeting too. The question that Commissioner Bush raised about travel, I'm pretty sure the city does have explicit limitations on, the per diem, et cetera. I think the problem with those gifts is that was completely outside of the, city funding. Those were what you would, I mean, they were not writing, they weren't seeking reimbursement for the hotels that were, $1,000 a day or whatever. That's the problem. They were getting those as illegal gifts from restricted sources. But anyway, if you can just answer that question, because I'm sure it's in the commission's city policies, that I'm pretty sure there were restrictions. And then the work order issue. I know we talked about this last year, and I know that you have had conversations with the controller's office about how that might happen. I mean, my impression is in order to get these enterprise departments to work order money to the commission to fund the Form 700 work, those departments would have to, at least at some level, incorporate it in their budgets. I mean, it's going to be such a small amount to them that they may have generic categories of funding that would allow them to work order money to us just for their own, code compliance, staff code compliance provisions. But anyway, if you can check in with the controller's office or whoever your budget analyst is over in the mayor's office, and make sure that we're not missing any timelines for being funded by enterprise departments through work orders in a way that would make up for some of this 10% hit that the mayor's trying to achieve, and let us know, what you hear back on the 21st. I had another, wait a minute, Commissioner Bush, I'm going to get through my list and then I'll come back to you if that's okay. And
Thank you.
Commissioner Chu. And now I forgot what I wanted to say. All right. Well, no, it had something to do with another agenda item that I want on for the meeting on the 12th, and I'm sure I'll be able to pick that up when we get to new business. So I am going to go back then to Commissioner Bush. You had a follow-up comment?
On the issue of the work orders, I think it has to also point out that while we're asking them to fund the Form 700 filings, we're also saving them money. It's not a one-way street because they currently have staff who has to file all the Form 700s for the people who work in that department. And that's staff time and staff resources and filing and all the rest of that, which they will no longer have to do because it'll come to us. In the meantime, until that takes place, I do think that we need to go to asking them to submit to us a PDF of who's filing, and at a minimum, a list of who's filing submitted to ethics so that we can post it. So right now, you have no idea what conflict of interest may be inherent in the mayor's own chief of staff, because that's not something that's filed with us. That's filed in the mayor's office. And you can go through police captains and whether or not they have a side business in the jurisdiction where they're the captain. We don't have any of that information. And if you could at least have a PDF, you wouldn't have to wait a year, but you would get it in April.
I'm going to jump in there because that is actually the thing that I was going to ask that we calendar, but we'll talk about it under new business. I actually think that the ways that we can achieve disclosure on conflict of interest in Form 700, as well, along with an update on where the board is on addressing some of those issues, has to be a priority for the February 12th meeting, where we can drill into just those ideas. I do want to say, though, I don't think that it's true that the way that we're going to tackle getting all of these filers to e-file, I don't think that it's that the departments are going to agree that we are taking away from their filing officers all of the responsibility. I think quite the contrary, because it's not conceivable that we can be the one-on-one interface with 3,600 employees. We are looking to those department officers as the liaison between the Ethics Commission and our e-filing system and their responsibility. But going back to your point about the PDFs, I also think that's worth exploring, along with what we're necessarily going to have to do is explore ways to achieve what you've called ethics at work without the benefit of 3 additional staff, because right now it's pretty clear we're going to be fighting to keep the resources that we have, and we're not going to get a lot of traction on getting 3 new positions to do training and outreach. But anyway, I see some other hands. Commissioner Chu, if you wanted to, and then Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Chair Ambrose. So to your point about the difficulty of getting additional resources for training, and let alone funding for an Ethics at Work initiative, and building on Commissioner Bush's proposal to have some work done on the Form 700s by a work order, what if we proposed to fill the gap on ethics and compliance training that is I think really evident in DBI via work order, because the that's where the problem resides. And so what if, instead of asking for general fund support for ethics to be able to go and conduct the training, if those departments had the arrests and the indictments and the criminal probe at the FBI and the district attorney and the city attorney, if they were then to fund the by work order training to be conducted by the Ethics Commission, and and by putting that out there, it becomes the responsibility of the departments at issue cleaning up their own house with our help, and it also creates this setup whereby then if it's not going to be approved, they have to go on record as not approving it, right? Because this is a way, and I think it is not asking more money for the Ethics Commission, but asking the departments in question to invest in changing and and assistance of the Ethics Commission to be able to do so. So I think that would be I would like to suggest that be a proposal that we explore.
Can you, Director Pelham, as I said, when we put together the agenda for the 21st, and call out specific subtopics, so it's not just the budget, but if you can put in a line item for a discussion about soliciting work order funding for compliance with ethical compliance from various departments, so that we can talk about both the point that Commissioner Chu just raised, funding for training. I'm sure the city attorney's office, who usually joins us in our training, would also, weigh in and support departments allocating funding for that. I mean, every time I did that with staff, the staff are hungry for specific department related feedback about, how do the gift rules or contracting rules apply within their divisions. But there's always a limit on, I'm sure, on, the ability of the Ethics Commission to send trainers out. I know certainly in the city attorney's office, they're always willing and able to do it, but there's a limit on, frankly, there's a limit on how many departments ask for it. So pushing it out to the departments and building it in with a work order for teams to go out and do that training, I think is a great thing that we can talk about substantively when we get to the getting it on the agenda. So if you can call that out, and I can work with you on how we frame that. But I think it'll also help with public engagement if, when we look at the agenda item on the budget, there's specific ideas that may be thought-provoking, and especially if we're going to try and do some community outreach and engagement to get people to engage in that meeting on the 21st, the more specific, the better. And I see Commissioner Lee, you had your hand up. Did you have another comment? No. All right. I do want to see if we have any public comment. So I'm going to have.
Can I, Chair Ambrose, can I just, what Commissioner Chu pointed out reminded me that I wanted to restate for the record that we currently have a system that every relevant city official has to take a training on ethics and then has to certify that they took the training. So that's step one. Step two is that the city attorney issues a guide to good government that has advice on ethical issues that are before commissioners and department heads. So that's step two. Step three is that people can contact the city attorney's office for more specific advice. And then step four is that every department has statements of incompatible activities that are supposed to provide guardrails so that you don't fall off into behavior that's not compatible with your position. All of those are currently existing. Can we just talk about strengthening those instead of adding a new level of $2.5 million in 3 years and additional staff? It seems to me like a reasonable alternative for us.
Okay. I mean, I think that will be part of our discussion on the 21st when we calendar it specifically. I hear what you're saying, but I'm a little concerned. I don't want to have a substantive discussion about all the various ideas that we can engage in on the budget when we don't have a calendar for action and we're not specifically calling to the attention of the public that we're having these conversations. So I do want to see if we have anybody in the queue to give public comment on this matter, and then we'll be back here in what is that, 2 short weeks to pick up this on a substantive level. So everybody put your thinking caps on between now and then, and let's come up with some strong arguments and action items so that we can ensure we have the resources we need to do our job. But anyway, Mr. Moderator.
Madam Chair, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently on the public discussion on the motion of agenda item number 5, discussion of Executive Director's report, an update of various programmatic and operational highlights of Ethics Commission staff activities since the Commission's previous meeting. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the public comment queue. You will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You will hear a bell go off when your time is over. Please stand by. And I'm sorry, you will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please continue to hold. Madam Chair, there are no callers in the queue.
All right, thank you. Public comment on agenda item number 5 is closed, and I will now call agenda item number 6, which is discussion and possible action on items for future meetings. If any member of the public intend to offer public comment for this item, they should dial in now and enter *3 to be added to the public comment queue. Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to identify any matters for future meetings? And I see Commissioner Bush. Please, if you have items for future meetings, feel free to share them.
I'm sorry, I was lost a little bit. Let me come back to you. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things that, aside from the budget items for the 21st that we discussed for the meeting on the 12th, I can work with the executive director on this, but back in the fall, we lost one of the, what I would call foundational contributors to the creation of the Ethics Commission. That's Randy Riddle. He was a deputy city attorney who worked, I think, quite actively with Commissioner Bush in drafting the original charter language back in 1993. And with the commission's permission, I would like to put a resolution on recognizing his work and contribution so that we could send that to his family. And I know we have lots of people who have contributed greatly. Jenica Maldonado is an example point, but I think in this circumstance, Randy not only was the attorney for the commission for many years, but he has contributed after he left the office to the work of the Ethics Commission. And so anyway, I will prepare something for your consideration, but I would like to see if we can send just a commendation to his family, recognizing his contributions. And then for the budget item, and we can talk further when you calendar the meeting on the 21st. I know it's going to be focused on the budget, but please do include as one of the agenda items a discussion of items for future meetings on that, in addition to public comment, which we will clearly have, so that if coming out of the budget meeting on the 21st, commissioners want to agendize items for discussion on the 12th before we, approve the budget that gets sent over to the mayor's office. I think that would be a good plan. Commissioner Bush, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I want to add for future meetings some discussion on transparency and accountability. There is a provision in the government code that requires city officials to disclose relationships, including serving as unpaid board members of organizations, if they are regularly in touch with people who are part of the group that comes before their commission. And so I don't know where those things are filed, other than I know that the law says that there's a form and it has to be disclosed. I think I forwarded a copy of that government code to Chair Ambrose and to Director Pelham. But I'd like to put on the agenda, where are the places that information like that is disclosed, since I don't see it on ethics? That's number one. And then secondly, how are violations or failures to comply with statements of incompatible activities disclosed? If somebody does that, is it disclosed publicly that anybody would know that there was someone who was found at fault for not complying with statements of incompatible activities? So far as I can learn, it's not disclosed publicly. If something goes back and forth between the department head and the individual. And if that's the current situation, do we want to examine whether that should be opened up to greater transparency to the public? So those are two topics that I would like to see added. They're very related to each other.
All right, Commissioner Bush, thank you for that. I actually, and I can ask now, and then maybe we can talk about it at the end of the meeting on the 21st. They're, getting off to the start for the new year. We have left some fairly significant business behind in 2020, waiting for the controller's next report. We're waiting for a phone call back from Supervisor Haney on the status of his amendments to the behested payment and gift new rules that are coming forward. I think that these points that Commissioner Bush is inquiring about regarding disclosure from staff on where they acknowledge any personal professional relationships that should be on the record, where a violation of the SIA. I think that all comes under what I assume will be part of Pat Ford's policy report on our ongoing project for conflict of interest. I'm assuming we're probably coming up on a review of the policy prioritization program in the spring. So anyway, all of that I will try and get calendared, if not all of that, for the February meeting. I'm assuming we'll have an update at the February meeting on the policy prioritization staff work, and then certainly Mr. Pierce's work on the fixed penalty policy and whatever comes out of those stakeholder meetings. And by the way, I'm available both of those days on the, whatever that was, the 25th and the 27th. So if commissioners want to attend either of those stakeholder meetings, if you can let Mr. Pierce know, and then he'll let me know which slot is available, since only two of us can participate in that. And I will let all of you know if we hear anything from the district attorney's office. It would be fantastic if we could have a full complement of commissioners in time for the meeting in February so that that commissioner could participate in these very important policy and budget decisions. I'm gonna ask the moderator to see if we have any public comment on this item, and if anyone has further comments here, we'll take them up after he reads the announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently on public discussion on the motion of agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action on items for future meetings. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the public comment queue. You will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You will hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please stand by. Also, as a reminder to the general public comment may also be submitted in writing and will be shared with the Commission after this meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comments should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Once again, written comments should be sent to the ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Madam Chair, there are no callers in the queue.
All right, public comment on agenda item 6 is closed, and I will call agenda item 7, additional opportunity for public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda pursuant to Ethics Commission bylaws, Article 7, Section 2. If any member of the public intend to offer public comment for this item, they should dial in now and enter *3 to be added to the public comment queue. Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to identify? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong text. Can we please have public comment on agenda item number 7, moderator, if you can read the announcement?
Madam Chair, yes, we are checking to see if there are callers in the queue. For those already on hold, please continue to wait until the system indicates you have been unmuted. If you have just joined this meeting, we are currently on the public discussion on the motion of agenda item number 7, additional opportunities for public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda pursuant to Ethics Commission bylaws, Article 7, Section 2. If you have not already done so, please press *3 to be added to the public comment queue. You will have 3 minutes to provide your public comment, 6 minutes if you're online with an interpreter. You'll hear a bell go off when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please stand by. Again, to the general public, please remember public comment may also be submitted in writing and will be shared with the Commission after this meeting has concluded and will be included as part of the official meeting file. Written comments should be sent to ethics.commission@sfgov.org. Once again, written comments should be sent to the ethics.commission@sfgov.org. There are no callers in the queue, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, moderator. Public comment is closed on agenda item number 7. I'm going to call agenda item 8, which is adjournment. Commissioners, do we have a motion to adjourn the first meeting of 2021? Commissioner
So-
Chu.
So moved.
Second, Commissioner Lee. Thank you very much. On the motion moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting, moderator, will you please call the roll?
Yes. A motion has been made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Bush,
Yes.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lee,
Aye.
Chair Ambrose.
Aye.
With 4 votes in the affirmative and 0 votes opposed, the motion is approved unanimously.
And the motion to adjourn carries. Thank you. This concludes the January 8th, 2021 meeting of the San Francisco Ethics Commission. Wish you all a happy new year. We'll see you here on the 21st. Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Jenica, once again, congratulations and thank you for your service to the citizens of San Francisco.
Yeah,
Really
thank you,
appreciate
Ron,
it.
for we'll call you if we have any questions. And we also want to congratulate Tyler and Jared on their promotions. I think that's excellent news, and we'll keep them busy this year, no doubt. But thank you for that, and thank you for your report, Director Pelham. All right, folks, it's
Thank you.
time to find the leave button. Take care.
Take care.